I'm Christy, and I need to talk to you about what's going on with this whole 8 passengers thing. I didn't even know, to be honest, who on earth Ruby Franke was, or her partner or business partner, Jody Hildebrant. But, just watch a little bit of news and you start finding out really quickly that this is a YouTuber. She is a mom. She and her family had millions of followers, and she was doling out parenting advice right and left, and abusing her children at the same time in front of viewers. So some of these viewers actually followed her for advice. That's where I need to start here. For over a decade in California, I taught parent education classes to hundreds of parents wanting to improve their parenting skills. So some of the things that were taught on the curriculum were positive reinforcement, discipline versus punishment, because there is a difference. My goal in teaching these parents was to parent their children with love, and whenever possible, all the time, reinforce positive behavior so that the need for any kind of discipline is very minimal. And when there is a need for discipline, that's what it should be, is discipline. The difference between discipline and punishment is one is with the goal to teach, to kindly and lovingly teach a child so that they can correct their mistakes and they can do better next time. Punishment is more of a retaliation on the parent's part. They're so angry they just can't handle their emotions, and they end up, lashing out and smacking a child, or they set up some ridiculous punishment for behavior that doesn't teach the children anything except to fear the parent. So from what I've heard, and now I've been watching some of the videos, that what Ruby Franke and this Jody Hildebrandt had been doing was literally teaching other parents how to abuse their children the way Ruby was doing with hers. So apparently this Jody Hildebrandt has some sort of counseling credentials, but Ruby Franke has none whatsoever. What she has is 6 children. I'm sorry, but I don't care how many children you have. That in and of itself does not make you an expert in parenting. These are Mormon women. Having been Mormon for many years myself, in fact, until I was 40 years old, I did appreciate and still do appreciate the loving family support that is within the Mormon Church, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But I don't criticize anyone's religion or beliefs, because that's a very personal thing. But just because someone's Mormon, it doesn't mean they're going to be the greatest parent either. The class I was teaching was for LDS social services, and there were a lot of horrible parents in there that really needed some help. Some of them took right to it, and some of them got angry because they may have been court ordered to take my class and they didn't want to. But if they had been abusive to their child, or if their child had gotten completely out of control and now they're in jeopardy of the state stepping in, Child Protective Services, and taking their children away because their children have become basically juvenile delinquents, and if they want to get their children back, they were ordered to take my class. Why did this channel have so many subscribers and viewers? Is it just everybody's desire to get into anybody else's business? Is it like a natural voyeurism for some people? I want to watch what's going on in your home. And what was the motivation? I mean, obviously money was part of it for Ruby Franke and her partner, but so of course the YouTube channel became very important when it started being their main money stream coming in. But I don't know what the initial goal was for her. Did she want to be like the next Kardashians, like the Mormon version of Kardashians? Because even though she didn't have a film crew, what I think is even worse is she followed her children around constantly with the camera in their face. First thing in the morning, young girl shaving her legs for the first time, taking it with one of her children to a doctor's appointment and making her children talk about really deep and emotional and very personal feelings with their mother in their face with a camera, knowing that it's going to be shown to millions of people. That is not a healthy way for any child to grow up. And it was obvious that children were not happy with it, but they didn't know any different. You know, I don't know what the attraction was, but the few videos I've seen, they're not that entertaining. They're not professionally filmed. And again, the ones that are definitely being highlighted in the news and a lot of YouTube videos feature on this one scene where she's threatening to cut the head off of her little girl's favorite toy. This little girl might be 2 years old, and she is devastated. And when the mom says she's going to cut this little stuffed animal's head off, this little girl, again, she appears to be 2 or 3, went, and then she just started crying. She was so worried and concerned. That is emotional abuse at its finest. That little girl could be scarred for life by having her mom threaten her that way. And if she's doing it once on camera, you've got to ask yourself, what else is going on when she's not pushing the button of the camera? Things that she doesn't want people to see because she knows that they are outright abusive and that she's emotionally hurting her children as well as physically. She used food as a punishment. She would withhold food and basic nourishment. Apparently, even her 6-year-old was responsible for making her own lunch and taking it to school, and she was in kindergarten. And when she forgot one day and the teacher called, the mother refused, Ruby refused to take her food and said, I really hope nobody gives her food because she needs to learn her lesson. This little tiny 6-year-old had to go all day without food and be hungry. What mother does that? Statistically, emotional, mental abuse causes psychological damage and oftentimes is far worse for the victim than actual physical abuse. And here's some of the reasons why. Physical abuse, you can see marks, you can see injuries, bruises, cuts, whatever, and people automatically validate you and give you sympathy and understand, oh, that must have been horrible. But when the abuse is towards your spirit and your soul and your mind, and it hurts you and it confuses you, and someone who's supposed to love you is manipulating you, this kind of abuse stays with you a long, long time and definitely scars your psyche and will forever scar your relationship with the parent or person who is doling out this type of abuse. I also wanted to address the fact that apparently they sent their older son to a youth camp, and these sort of camps are a way of disciplining a completely out of control child. Now, this isn't someplace you just send your child because they backtalk once in a while. This is where you send your child when they are out of control. They are hopping in and out of bed with everybody at 15 years old. Perhaps they're selling drugs, using drugs, stealing cars. These are the kinds of behaviors that prompt parents to spend $50,000 and more to send their child to one of these camps to get straightened out. And my daughter has her degree in psychology, and she actually was a counselor in one of these camps here in Utah many years ago before she had children. And she was an incredible counselor. They didn't torture those kids. And I've heard some people say, they torture them and it doesn't work. Okay, so that's spun out of control. There may be some camps that are really bad, maybe not accredited, I don't know. But I do know that some are very good, and they basically train the children with logical and natural consequences, which is how I raised my 5 kids. And they basically, these kids are allowed to make their own choices, but when they do, they are then responsible, and they have to pay the natural or logical consequences for their decisions. So I don't want everybody to jump on the bandwagon and think those are wrong because this, Ruby Franke character sent her son to one. I don't know if she actually sent him or just threatened, but I don't want that to give all youth camps like that a bad name, because some of them really save youth and save families. So I know it's a separate issue, but I did hear a couple of YouTube commentators who obviously didn't know very much about what they were talking about were indicating that they're all scams to take your money and they'll hurt your kids. And so do your own research, please. Just like you need to do your own research about, who you're getting your parenting advice from. Do they have credentials? Are they licensed? Do they know what they're talking about? Do not start disciplining your children because you saw someone do it on YouTube and so it must be the right way to go. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Many, many people, viewers, family members, and neighbors had reported Ruby Franke on many occasions for years for these abuses that were going on. Maybe I should say alleged abuses. And yet, nobody did anything. Apparently, either it was a Child Protective Services agency or perhaps the police went out like one time, knocked on the door, and there was no answer, and they left. I'm sorry, but if this had been a case of a parent misgendering their child or not calling them by their personal pronoun of preference or whatever, the police would be breaking down the door and Child Protective Services would be taking that child away from you. But if children are being abused, they'll knock on the door politely, and if there's no answer, they walk away. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? It just doesn't. There is a channel I often like to check in on and just kind of see what's up in the law and crime genre, and it's actually called the Law and Crime Network. And they recently produced a video about Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt, her partner. And at one point, they're showing a clip of Ruby sitting next to Jody on a sofa, very self-important. And she says this, and I'm going to read it because I need to get this correct. But this is Ruby with no credentials whatsoever, speaking to millions of parents. She said, "You're not going to get this kind of empowerment. You're not going to get this kind of permission anywhere else." What? Empowerment? She's talking about as a parent. Why do you need empowerment as a parent? You are the parent. Be the parent. But I don't know why you would need these 2 random chicks on YouTube to empower you, let alone give you permission. And permission for what? I'm sorry, I get really worked up about this. But what on earth are they talking about? What kind of empowerment? What are they giving you permission for? Who asked them? what gives them the right to give anyone else permission to do anything? Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry if I stepped on anyone's feelings. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. Those are my opinions. I'm entitled to them. You're entitled to yours. Please leave your comments respectful. I'll respect you. If they're not respectful, I'll delete it. That's just the way it is. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. I just want to add one last thing. Please love your children. Whatever stage of parenting you are in, whether you're expecting, whether you're new parents for the first time, you have young children, you're so excited to see where they go and what they do as they grow up. You might be a parent of teenagers pulling your hair out. Maybe your children are married like mine, and you might have grandchildren as I do. And all I'm saying is every single day, love those children. If they're nearby, hug them, kiss them, let them know how much you love them every single day. Tomorrows aren't guaranteed, but today is. So live in the moment, live mindfully, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Namaste.